Let today be the day you give up who you've been for who you can become. Hal Elrod. We see stocks and bonds down for the day. Gold and Bitcoin up. Bitcoin is the big gainer, up 1.94%. But that doesn't change the fact that Bitcoin still has a lot of downward pressure. We'll talk about that when we get to it. Let's start first with the S&P down 0.29%. Now you see a very small green candle starting the week off. That's a Heikin Ashi candlestick. If you don't know what that's about, look up Heikin Ashi. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll put our training. A couple 100,000 people have taken that. I'll put it at the end of today's video for those of you not familiar with it. By the way, subscribers, you have commit a little time each day for success. A great training. It's in your show notes. If you're not a subscriber, you can become one for free at chartingwealth.com. Doesn't cost anything. That list is never spammed, never sold. We see the price percent oscillator heading down, derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. Now let's move on to the 2-day. 2-day is a little different. This represents Friday and Monday, this latest 2-day candle. Derivative oscillator losing a little downward momentum. Price percent oscillator still heading down. Half-day chart, we can see where things for the last few days been heading up and then sort of flat and down a little bit on Monday. So keep a close watch on what's happening with that 2-day chart and that weekly chart. Both of them still down. We had that 2-day recross that took effect back on the 10th, so do pay close attention if you jumped into that, where that is and how that's holding up. Let's take a look at the Qs, the NASDAQ 100. Remember, we had that weekly vertical crossover back on the week ending the 17th of September. Weekly vertical crossovers always occur on a Friday. We jump in when they set themselves up and we feel comfortable about it on a practice trade on Friday afternoon around 3:45, 3:50 if everything's going our way. And again, when we've properly backtracked, we've looked at how accurate these crossings are in the past. What do? Well, we look at all the charts and we see how that's setting up if we feel comfortable, and we enter a practice trade. Invariably, not all the time, but more often than not, and particularly when you've backtracked and done your homework and the charts have been accurate in the past, we found they work over and over again. But you know what? You prove it to yourself by practice trading. It doesn't cost you anything but a little time, a little energy, a little effort, and see how well it works. So what do we see going on the weekly? Well, the weekly's in a confirmed down move. Price percent oscillator pulling away from the red signal line. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. Green, solid green candle. That means a slowdown in the prior week's hammering down movement. We'll keep an eye on things. Look at the 2-day. It again is heading down nicely. A green spin, well, almost a green doji right here after a solid green spinning top last week. So we'll keep our eye on those Heikin Ashi candlesticks, but that price percent oscillator still going down. What's up with the half day? It's still positive. Derivative oscillator losing momentum. And again, we'll keep an eye on things and see how it continues to progress. If you are in that weekly vertical crossover, then of course pay close attention to the weekly and to that 2-day. And again, profit and loss bands always in effect. Let's go on to 20-year bonds down for the day, 0.37%. And of course, as we see the candle drawing for the week, looks like we could have, this is only the first day of a 5-day candle, so it could bounce off this, but it's trying to cross over going down. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. Big red down candle forming. Look at the 2-day, and we can see where it's spiking away from the red signal line. That's a big 2-day candle heading down, representing Friday and Monday. And again, pushed through the weekly trend line. Look at this half-day chart. We can see 1, 2.5, and then ended on Monday with a solid green candle, sort of slowing down in that down movement, paired off of some of those losses, still down 0.37%. That's where we are on bonds. Maybe we'll have a weekly vertical crossover heading down. It has been a long time since bonds crossed over, going up back at the end of April this year. Okay, That is, and you can look way back at bonds at how long they went down back in the day. And again, if I'm seeing that right, is that the COVID crash? Let's just look back on the S&P. COVID crash occurred there in February of 2020. Are we right there? Yep. That is it. So let's just see. Is that the COVID crash where things first started moving down? Nope. That was, nope, that was in May. It was in May. Then things went down. They went up for a little while, but it never crossed over, and then just sort of hammered down all the way until end of April 2021. So interesting. And then, of course, switched over, headed up nicely, and then topped, had been sliding sideways, and then most recently been devolving. Now, let's take a look at gold, up 0.21%. But you check out the gold there. We're going into the fourth week of down movement, not hitting the lows of last week, but still a red down candle forming below that weekly trend line. Had that weekly vertical crossover going down back on the 17th of September. And was it before then? No, I guess it was not. It was getting awfully close then. But again, just continuing to head down, price percent oscillator, derivative oscillator negative. We look at the 2-day and we can see where it's spiking even further down. Big red down candle, price well below the 2-day end. The weekly trend lines, and of course that half-day, we can see where things spike down to the latest low on Friday morning, and then just sort of sliding sideways since then. So gold still has lots of downward pressure. For those of you who shorted gold, you've not been doing bad so far. For those of us who want it to go up, it just doesn't want to do it. So guess what you do? You follow the charts. Not what you want, but what the charts tell you you should be wanting. Now, what do we see on Bitcoin? Up for the day, 1.94%. That's typically something to celebrate for Bitcoin. Not a big deal. And that weekly candle that's just started drawing is a red down candle. Again, it's Heikin-Ashi candle, shows you the average pace. Price percent oscillator getting really close to the red signal line. Derivative oscillator still devolving. We look at the 2-day, and of course we see a slowdown in the down movement with that solid green down candle. Doesn't look like it reached the low on the earlier. That would have been the Wednesday, Thursday candle, but that price percent oscillator still heading down. Derivative oscillator heading down. Half-day chart, you can see where things have sort of, just really bottomed right along that, what is that, the $42,500 line. So we'll keep an eye on Bitcoin, see where it's going, but the overhang is still quite negative. That's where we are, folks, as we end the day on Monday. You got 4 more days to follow this market this week. I hope you're filling out your daily market worksheets when you do practice trades, trade worksheet. And at the end of the week, after we do the weekly review and forecast on Friday, as you're listening to it, when we put it up, it's time to fill out the weekly market worksheet. There are great trainings in your show notes every day. Again, if you're not a subscriber, sign up. If you're not a Patreon member, you're missing out on all the really good stuff. 20 weekly vertical crossovers every week on the S&P 500, unless there aren't that many, and that's only happened once since we started doing this. Also, you get all of our special Patreon trainings, the biggest being Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way 3-part series teaches you what you need to know to get started, practice trading options. And then, of course, that first Wednesday of every month coming up again soon in October, we answer your questions, have a special training live that we do for our Patreon supporters. If you can join us 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, well, I guess we're still on daylight. That changes soon enough, I think in November, maybe late October, but we're still on Eastern Daylight Time here in the States on the East Coast. That's available to you the first Wednesday of every month. We answer your questions and also help you backtrack and look at the stocks and ETFs you're interested in practice trading. And again, the caveat is we're not a stock calling service. We're an education firm. We're here to help you learn. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World headquarters.